Okay, so welcome guys. This is the Success Community, interview number 6. Today's guest is Sean Powers, a very interesting person, a fighter, a pro fighter, and an entrepreneur with many great projects that he's going to develop in the future. So first of all, Sean is a very successful elite pro MMA fighter. He's an MMA fighter, so he's fighting in mixed martial arts. And he fought in Bellator, and now he's fighting in his own promotion. He's a real estate investor. And he owns not only his own gym, but his own promotion, okay, his own fighting promotion. Sean is also a successful entrepreneur with many great projects that he's going to develop in the future. And this interview is going to be very interesting for you guys. So enjoy the interview.
Hey guys, this is the Success Community, interview number 6. We have a dear friend of us, Sean Powers, MMA fighter, DJ, entrepreneur, and many other things. Man, thank you for taking the time. But let me start right away asking you a really interesting question that I thought of was, how do you get started in the fighting business? I know you fought for Bellator, and how do you get into that? I know that it's one of the best promotions out there, but tell us a little bit about the hustle behind it before getting into that, and also what time you started training.
Okay. What's up, guys? I'm Sean. Nice to meet you guys. All your community and everybody that you're helping down in Florida. I'm super honored and pumped to be able to do this with you. You know what I mean? I love creating. I love, spreading good energy and helping people, and everything that you're doing is just amazing. So when you asked to, for me to come on, of course, I'm so down and just honored, that you would even think of me. So first of all, thank you. Thank you, Matteo. Nice to meet you. Yeah, absolutely. Just pumped. But getting back to your question, look, the fight business is such an interesting business because there is no kind of like rudimentary way to get in. There's so many different ways and rabbit holes that you can go down to, get yourself in a position where, a big promotion can see.
Okay, so welcome guys. This is the Success Community.
You got to start local.
6,
you got to start local. You got to connect with
a very interesting person.
Your local
Sean
scene, and then once you start, building your reputation and obviously
of course, like several fights
through the local scene, then you start getting to that national stage.
Okay, so welcome guys, this is the Success Community, interview number
where
6.
Bigger
Today's guest
promotions
is
are
Sean Powers,
looking to sign
a very
other guys,
interesting person, a fighter, a pro fighter, and an entrepreneur.
Connect you with a bigger audience.
Many great projects.
And that really, at the end of the day, being an independent contractor, independent fighter,
elite,
that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to build your brand.
An MMA fighter, so he's fighting in mixed
go as
martial arts,
big and as high as you can. My thing that really, I think, separates me from most guys is as he owns not only I've built my brand, but as I've taken things to the next level.
Sean is also
I've actually started my own promotion.
Projects that he's going to develop.
You can see the belt, behind me that's hanging up. That's actually my promotion's belt. So I started my own promotion because, look, this is a business, and this is something I think that I've done very good. Much different than other people. I think other people have really gone, the route of just being the fighter and not understanding the business, or just understanding the business and not understand the fighting. And I think where I'm very different is that I have both those things connected. I have the business plus the art, plus the sport aspect of it. So I think that's the biggest thing that really separates me compared to other fighters and stuff. Of course, I think I'm world class, and can compete with any guys in the world, regardless of promotion. But at the end of the day, this is also a business to me too. So I definitely want to, have that monetary gain in owning my own promotion. And so that really has been the biggest thing is just grow my brand, get signed with big promotions, do big things, but ultimately I want to have creative control, which is what everybody wants. Everybody wants creative control. Nobody wants to be told what to do. And for me, I just am really pumped that I was had the vision to see that and see the business, and the guy that obviously started that for me that I first saw was Mayweather. And I'm just, obviously I understand I'm not a Mayweather guy, and I don't want to be a Mayweather guy, right? I want to be Sean Powers. But you can learn from other athletes, right? You can learn from other people and see what they've done and put your flavor onto it, So when I saw him running his own promotion, that made the most sense to me. I'm like, wow, 100% of that ticket that sold, or merchandise or sponsorship, whatever it may be, will go directly to me, instead of, like when I fought for Bellator, I'm selling, $10,000 worth of tickets and I'm only getting 10% of that, and it's like, I know all these people would come to me if I owned my own promotion. So, I mean, and look, it's definitely a complicated thing. The fight industry is not, there's no schooling. There's no like, hey, I'm going to go to the University of Georgia and I'm going to learn about the fight community. It's really about networking, knowing who to talk to, having the right connections. And, luckily for me, I'm very good at, networking with people and connecting with people. So I've been very fortunate to have lots of doors open up for me, and take things to the next level. So it's a little bit about me.
Okay. Yeah, and do you think, Sean, like it's very important and it's helping you a lot to have been a fighter in the past, like first, and then now starting the business? Or do you think that it's a business open to everyone that has the mindset to learn how this business works and everyone can start?
I mean, it's experience for sure. Like I'm always, trying to learn and grow. And I definitely think that, I was very lucky in understanding business and the fighting, and obviously, again, like I said, experience. The more that I've done it, the more that I've had experience, the more that I understand what's going on. When you're 18 years old and, just barely getting into this, yeah, sure, there's tons of different things that you don't know about. But as you gain experience, as you understand what's going on here, like one of the things is that like I'm an entertainer. I mean, that was something that I didn't really realize at first, but now that I have gotten older and more mature, I'm like, wow, okay, I am an entertainer. That's why jumping into like the DJing, I've gotten really big into DJing over the last couple of years. And it's a very similar thing. Obviously, I'm not doing the physical stuff like in fighting someone, but I am fighting myself to get on stage, to sing in front of people, to, put it out there, which is the same thing you're doing in MMA. So being an entertainer and being someone who's trying to, really at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do is make people happy by sharing my whatever it is, whether it's me fighting, whether it's me, DJing or singing, whatever those things are. I mean, I'm just trying to make people be inspired and be happy with my art.
Yeah, and why did you first got into fighting? Like you were like sure 100%, okay, that's the sport I want to do, or you were trying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. When I first saw that was a way that I could make money, yeah, I was all in. I was all in. Because I just never thought in a million, so little background on me, I come from 8 brothers and sisters. And so like, I'm the youngest of the 6 by blood. And then my parents adopted 2 more kids from actually Romania. And, you have that many people in a household, 10 people, including my mom and dad. So 8 kids and then my parents. There's gonna be some fights, and that's kind of like the deeper part of like me is, those fights weren't good. Obviously I'm laughing and chuckling about it now, but like it wasn't good growing up, You know what I mean? Like on that level, those fights are not good. It's never good to lose control. And so when I found this sport that can help you control yourself, you know, because I had bad like anger issues and stuff, you know, like I'd lose control. You know, it just wasn't a good thing. But
So
when I
like heading toward a cage fight was kind of helping you channeling that anger.
Yeah, well, I just think controlling my body and controlling my breath, that's like the business side of stuff. So you've got like me when I fight and like I'm preparing for a fight, and then just the natural, I would say, healing aspects of martial arts. So like two different things.
Out of curiosity, man, what's your weight right now?
I weigh like 190, 195.
And you used to do welterweight, 170.
Actually lower, lightweight, 155.
How you
So I
cut,
fought in about 4 different weight classes, and I've won different championships in different, you know, weight classes.
How did you cut? Obviously you had a camp, but how tough was cutting weight?
Yeah, the dieting aspect was definitely something that I didn't realize was such a like a factor in becoming a professional athlete or a professional, you know, combat sport athlete. And that really, I went about 7 years of like cutting weight and I mean just really pushing it. I'm a really tall person. I'm like, you know, well, not really tall, I guess, you know, 6'2", somewhat tall. And I was able to get myself down to 155 for, you know, a very short amount of time. And then as soon as I would get off the scale, you know, I'm putting an IV in me, and, you know, just really wasn't a healthy thing to do, you know, like looking back on it. I started having some like kidney pain and, you know, towards the end. And that's when I chose, you know what? I'm a tall person. I'm a big person. I'm gonna grow into my body instead of shrink down, and that served me really well. I've been very happy with going up. I did not get in the sport to be an ultimate dieter. I love to eat. You know, I want to grow, and fighting bigger guys is actual. I mean, look, the small guys are really fast and the big guys are really strong. So they all present different challenges. And I'm just a person who loves challenges. So I'm winning regardless.
Yeah. Okay. And like talking about like specifically MMA and the way you were fighting, I would like to ask you this question from the beginning of the interview, like because there's of course multiple disciplines. Like we have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we have grappling, wrestling, we have of course boxing. And do you think there's like a predominant discipline that is going to help you more during a fight? Like, for example, the fighters that are very strong on the ground have like an advantage, or you think it's like, I would like to ask you your opinion about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that wrestling is definitely one of the ones that is super powerful, just because when you have the ability to say, okay, we're going to be standing or I'm going to take you down, it gives you a big advantage to be able to be in that space where you can say, all right, I'm going to take you down, or I'm going to defend your takedown and I'm going to keep it standing. You just can dictate where the fight happens, and that's a huge advantage.
Okay.
Talking about advantages, what do you think is the main difference that I would say from an elite fighter, like I'm talking about the top of the top,
like Conor
GSP,
McGregor,
a GSP, like a Khabib,
right
and
there,
just like GSP, my man over there.
Let's go.
I think it's our favorite fighter. But
yeah.
What do you think is the main difference between a GSP, a guy that has lost twice, that has faced all that adversity, and then has won 2 belts in 2 different weight classes, and just like a regular, and I don't want to use that word, I don't want to sound disrespectful, but a journeyman, a guy that is just like fighting and he's losing, he's winning sometimes. What do you think is the main difference over there to get to the top?
I mean, I just think focus.
Focus, huh?
Yeah, focus. I would say focus. Your your mind isn't all the way in like GSP's mind's all the way in, and where the mind goes, the body will go. And so his mind is so obsessive about winning and about being in the UFC, and that's what he got to. I definitely like, it's never been personally, because I could see the businesses of it, like that was never really, especially when the UFC did like the Reebok deal. The Reebok deal is like where they own your sponsorship. I'm very entrepreneur like, and so that's why I decided to go with Bellator, because Bellator still had that, and still has that ability to wear your sponsors, where different brands that are working with you. And a lot of those sponsorships are paying more than even the promotion that you're fighting for. And so to lose out on all that and the UFC close that door just didn't make a lot of sense for me to want to go and try to get signed with like that company. And that's where, again, that's where this, like, there's business and then there's like the sport, and for me, I'm definitely a person who wants to be in control of my life and wants to really grow. And I think the best way that I'm going to grow is like focusing on my brand and me. You look at like a guy like Jake Paul, he's only got 4 fights. He's an incredible marketer, just really changing the game in a lot of different ways. And I love that. I love for people to come in and push buttons and switch it up,
Especially right now with all the controversies about fighter paying. And I was just listening yesterday to an interview. They were interviewing Dana White, the president of the UFC, and you have so many fighters. I think the biggest one right now is Luke Rockhold. Is complaining about how I think they got 15 to 20%
of
is
the money.
And usually for boxers is 70-80%. And so tell me a little bit, what about you mentioned about the Reebok deal that the UFC made. What did that entail at that time?
Well, so basically, I mean, the Reebok deal is an exclusive sponsorship with the UFC, meaning they own all the clothing rights. So like, I have a bunch of companies that I work with, and those companies can, if I was to fight for the UFC, cannot be represented in the organization. Like, I can't wear their stuff on my shorts. I can't wear it during fight week, because the UFC has sold that right to Reebok. Does that make sense? Now the Reebok deal is over now. Just so you know, it is what's called Venom. Venom is the new apparel company that has the exclusive rights for their outfits.
How many sponsors you used to have when you were fighting before the deal?
What's that? Say that again.
How many sponsors do you used to have? Many partnerships?
You see that poster right there?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 12 plus sponsors that are on that. That's one of my banners that would hang on the cage when they're announcing my name, and people that support me. And so, I mean, I've got tons of different companies, from, body work to float tanks to promotional stuff to watch companies to motorcycle companies to, tons of different things. And, those companies are paying thousands of dollars. I mean, one of the companies I did a big deal with, and this is where I'm really good as an entrepreneur. I've been able to do some really interesting and different creative deals with companies to get, some really amazing tools. Like, one of the companies that I work with is called Float Pod Therapies. And Float Pod Therapies is a company that manufactures float tanks. I don't know if you know what a float tank is. Yeah. So the float tank's basically a sensory deprivation tank. You're completely weightless. It's like a meditative tool. But they cost, that machine costs about $25,000, and I was able to work a deal with the company for multiple fights. So we did a 5-fight deal where I would represent their company, right? So I'm marketing, I'm an ambassador for the company, and in turn, I got that tank for free. So like if I was in the UFC, I'm never getting that deal. I'm never being able to pull that off. You know what I mean? But because of Bellator and their different way of structuring, sponsorships, they're not trying to own the clothing rights or anything like that. Like the UFC, that's what they sold. They sold the clothing rights to Reebok and now Venom. So it's just, different business model, and everybody works in different things. So
Okay, and on a business standpoint, since we're talking about business, how much do you think is related the results that as a fighter you're providing to the promotion compared to how well you can sell the fights? Like, because we can see, like, for example, Jake Paul, that is, I think, very, very smart as a marketer, and is promoting those fights that are, of course, not always with huge names, but is making millions. And we see maybe some great fighters and they are doing much less. Like, how much do you think is what is the balance first, and how much you think is related, how much you sell the fight?
I mean, of course, it's 100% related. And you've got people who are on the digital side who are selling a ton of things, and then you have like for me, I'm really focused, like for my fights and stuff, it's all about local. So like maybe on a world stage, I'm not selling a ton, but locally, which is really all that matters to me, I'm selling a ton of tickets. You know what I mean? And that really all is what matters to me, because that in turn is money in my pocket, which is why I decided to open up my own promotion and do it that way. Instead of, like I said, I had sold, probably about $10,000 worth of tickets for Bellator, and I only got 10% of that, and I just didn't. I'm like, man, these people would pay if I owned my own promotion, and I could that $10,000 could have just went to me, but that's part of working your way up, right? You got to work your way up and, pay your dues.
Right. And also organize the event and put it together, which is a hustle, right?
100%.
How let's say before obviously social medias, when you were fighting, what were some tools that you were using to promote the fight?
I mean, I'm just good old fashioned networking, just talking to people.
Okay.
Before this crazy digital age. I mean, yes, Facebook was really the only thing, 10 years ago that was really like rocking. Instagram's still new and, hasn't been around that long or whatever, but Facebook's been around a little bit longer. So Facebook and just your good old fashioned, networking and meeting people and, talking about it and not being afraid to talk about it and promote yourself,
It's fascinating. We're talking about business in the fighting too. And something that I want to ask is, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the interview, you were not just a fighter, you had your own promotion, but you're also a real estate investor. So tell us a little bit your transition from, doing all of that into real estate.
Yeah. So the big thing when I started my own promotion was obviously having a venue to put on events. I did 3 events at a venue that I rented. Obviously you're talking, for me, double-digit thousands of dollars in overhead just to rent the space, put on the promotion. So that's a lot of money. And so I did the 3 shows and I was still very successful. I still made double-digit thousands of dollars on each show. It was they were very successful events, but it was a lot of work and a lot of having to take the ring down, set up the ring, take the ring down, set up the ring, because you only have the space that you rented for a certain amount of time. It's not like you have all this time to set it up and whatever. So I came across a building that is a mixed use commercial building. It's about 20,000 square feet. Now, this building is basically integrating what like the UFC Performance Institute is and the UFC Apex. The Apex is the venue that they are using, that they own and putting on their own shows. I've integrated both of them. So we've got the performance aspect where we have a full gym. We have the float tanks, we have hyperbaric chambers, we have the sauna, we have the ice baths, we have everything here for training. And then also this commercial building that I own also hosts as a venue as well. So now the overhead has went from double-digit thousands of dollars to, a very minimal amount, because now I'm just paying my mortgage. When I pay my mortgage, everything else is in the green, right?
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Sean, now that you transitioned to be an entrepreneur and you're operating on real estate, you have your own promotion. What are the main principles that you learn and that you're applying, that you learn from fighting, from the training? I imagine for sure discipline, but what else?
I'd go back to focus.
Okay.
Eye on the prize. I live in my facility. I am 100% committed. I almost died in the facility. I had a crazy accident happen. I'll show you just a little scar. You could see my wrist. I had a really serious accident happen on June 27th, 2020. And we were moving a big commercial mirror, like 10 feet long, ginormous. And it broke and actually cut both main arteries. And my hand was like literally hanging off. When that happened, and I go into surgery and thank God I'm alive and everything's okay, and my hands getting stronger and stronger. One of the coolest things that I take from it is my level of commitment, because I proved to myself that even when literally death is there, I will still keep going. Like the thing that people say, they're like, oh, I sweat, I bleed for this place. Like, no, I almost died for this place. And so it really is shown me my level of commitment to this and how much I want to make this work, and my dedication level versus other people. I just don't think other people are willing to dedicate like the way that I'm willing to dedicate. I live behind like lockers. I have like a secret door, and it's just very humble. Yes, I own this whole building and it's huge and whatever, but like where I actually sleep is very just humble. I've got 2 beds. I've got me and my daughter's space, and our clothes, and that's really pretty much it. Other than that, everything else is dedicated to growing the business and taking it to the next level. So that focus and dedication factor is really like the main things that I would say if you really want to take things to the next level.
Talking about adversity, I think that's a crazy thing that happened to you, man. I'm so grateful that you're safe right now, and it's getting better, it's getting stronger.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And then the comeback fight, that's the big thing. I'm not done, right? I'm just getting started. I'm only 31 years old. I still have a ton of things that are going to happen.
So tell me a little bit, what's the vision moving forward, like from now?
Yeah. So the vision moving forward is now fight on my property. Right. The vision moving forward is to now, and I've done this at another venue. I've been the main event, and I've knocked the guy out in, 2 minutes and won that belt that's behind me. Right. So I am the champion of my promotion. So going forward, it's all about, okay, now let's put on a show here on the property. I mean, there's that with the marketing that I would be doing. I mean, it's incredible marketing. To have me fight at my facility is incredible marketing. It makes me very different Nobody's doing something like this. This is sure it's on like a local level, but it's still this is very, very different. It'll be outside. We'll have the beautiful mountains in the backdrop on one side, and then my huge building as the backdrop on the other side. And it says the Powerhouse. Like, that's incredible marketing and just a great story. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm really excited. That is really one of the biggest visions going forward, is fighting on my property, make the most money I've ever made, bring in obviously a really tough guy and put it on the line. That's what this is about. Test myself. It's all about tests.
Yeah, Sean, something that I never told you, I think you have one of the most marketable names out there. Sean Powers. Sean Superpowers. He just sounds so well. You say, oh, this guy is like a legend. Just like hear the name and you connect the dots. So, and the Powerhouse, it's also a good freaking name to call the Powerhouse.
All my businesses I've created off of that. It's all about never forgetting where you come from, right? And my last name is Powers, and I'm never gonna forget that. And I'm gonna use that to empower me. Like that's the other thing with like what I do, is just helping people, which is what I love to see you do. You're helping people, and you don't care who they are, where they are on the celebrity status or not. You don't care. You can just connect with someone, and that's so beautiful. That's what I love to do. I love to have a random person come in and change their life. You help them believe in themselves. You help them see a way that they can do something. You can assist them in some sort of way. It's just, it's incredible. And it doesn't even have to be on like a martial arts level. I own this huge event venue, and I have people come in and they do weddings and they do quinceañeras and they do baptisms and they do religious things or whatever it is, to be of service and be helpful to those people in their creation is so amazing. So it's like, yeah, it's awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah, very interesting. That's a thing that I would like to ask you, Sean, now that you're of course still fighting, you have your promotion. How much are you sparring and how much are you acting during your training sessions? Because there was an interesting interview that I've seen about Max Holloway that was saying that he stopped sparring because he was seeing that it was giving him some problems, like in being focused, in some brain damage. So
everybody's a little different. Everybody's a little bit different. So I actually sparred yesterday, and I feel good. I feel so good. I'm really good at listening to my body. So if I feel like I need to slow it down or whatever, but the majority of the time I feel flossy, I feel good. I feel loose. I feel creative. And when that goes away will be when I'm not gonna actually compete. I'll always train. I'll always train for forever. I will never not train, the competition side, that is, you're not always doing that for forever, but as far as like now, I feel good. I feel happy. I feel super creative. I feel like my timing and my technique is it just keeps growing and evolving. And that's the fun thing about, like, even in this injury, is like I've had to adapt. I've had to switch things up, and it's given me new ways to do new things and try new things. And I just really lean into that. I really lean into that and embrace that. But everybody's got different things. Max, I actually had one of my fighters fight Max in the UFC. Everybody's got their own way of doing stuff. Some people need to take a break and then get back into it or whatever. It's a very personal thing. I don't think there's one way to do it. Definitely just what works for you.
Yeah, sure. And like, I would like to ask you, like, personally, when you're sparring, for example, because that changes a lot between the fighters, like how much are you pushing and how much is hard your sparring session? Like, are you trying to work more on the technique on the stance? I don't know, for example, or you really.
So we have some different things that we do. So we'll have like what's called like technical sparring. So you're not trying to kill the guy, you know what I mean? But it's very technical, still intense, but you're really trying to focus on your technique, right? And then you'd have like, yeah, regular sparring. All right, we're gonna go, 100%, and we're gonna try to go at each other, and obviously you're wearing bigger gloves, you're wearing headgear, you're wearing shin guards, you've got your mouthpiece in. So, it's, you could still hurt each other or whatever, but when you have two professionals at a high level who are very competitive and, at a similar weight, it's going to be hard to like stop each other, you know what I mean? Because you've got all this padding and stuff on. But you could still push so hard and see your life like flash in front of your eyes because of the cardio and the it's just so exhausting.
Yeah, for sure.
I've never experienced a workout like it. Like the emotional and physical pain that you have to push through. There's no other workout that's like it, because it's like the ultimate like man versus man primal thing. Like, oh my gosh, this guy's beating me up, like I need to do something about this. It's just so humbling and just brings you back to baseline. And we all have egos and can get disillusioned with ourselves, and for me it's very good to have something that grounds me, that takes me back.
What's your talking about ego, what's your biggest ego barrier? What's your main obstacle?
Like, what do you mean? Like,
so what is the thing that you're most proud of and that sometimes it's holding you back?
The thing that I'm most proud of that's holding me back, like what do you mean? Like
in the sense, sometimes we have ego that is kind of like, yes, it's pushing us to go further, but at the same time, sometimes you just tell us a story that is not true.
Well, sometimes, you push too far. So I mean, like I with like my injury, that was like part of like ego, because I remember that day so specifically, I was doing tons of different things, and I should have just been more humble and said, like, you know what, like I've got a lot of things going on and I can't help you move this mirror. But because I'm such a person who wants to help and like do all these different things, I said yes. And because I said yes, that happened. Now, I have no regret of what happened, but it still is important to understand going forward to know when to say no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that would be my thought, you know what I mean, on the ego and how it can, get you, because like the ego will be like, you can do anything, which like I do believe, but I also like, no, like I believe that I can do a lot of things that I put my mind to, but there are definitely other things that like there are definitely limits where I'm not going to be able to do it, like, can I be a contortionist? Like, no, like I can't, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do that. Like the way that my body is, I don't bend like that,
There's actually, you made me think about this quote that I love, is that you can strive to get everything you want in your life, but not at the same time. Everything has their time, So, man, it has to be, thank you for sharing the lesson you learned doing, that big adversity with the mirror, man. As I said, do you think that is the biggest adversity you ever faced?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's been some other stuff that have happened. I had, basically, I mean, I was living with my girlfriend and, she was pregnant with my second daughter and breaking up with her. And, she's basically like disappeared with my daughter. And, I don't know where they're at. That's a big adversity that I go through daily. Because your mind wants to play tricks and wants to, make you be sad and all these different things. And so, that's a tough situation that I go through. My parents got divorced. That's another tough one, but like I'm a fighter. So it's like this is what I like have called in. So I just accept the challenge, I think is really the biggest thing that I do that's different than most people. Like I'm like bring it on, like type of person, when things go like supposedly bad. But I don't look at it as bad. I look at it as a challenge because I don't think God would give me anything I couldn't handle, or the universe, or whatever word you want to use. Maybe God, some people don't resonate with, or higher power. Like I don't believe that that thing or him or whatever you want to say is going to give me something that I can't handle. So I embrace that. And I look at it in that good way. I look at that like, wow, he must think I'm really strong. God must think I'm really strong if he's going to give me this big of a thing to have to climb over,
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we touched on so many interesting topics, and for sure we have discussed about how to control anger, the biggest adversities that you had. We've discussed about real estate, how you're developing now your own promotion, and how you transition from being a fighter to becoming a successful entrepreneur with many projects in the future. So first of all, thank you very much, Sean, for the time you have dedicated to us. It was a pleasure. And if you have other questions, Umberto, we